Hello, my pickles. My name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food. So I just cracked my Presto. How does it? I'm trying to think of the title. Sorry about this. Oh, I don't have the title. Anyway, it is Presto, How I Made Over 100 Pounds Disappear. And I cracked it. I got a couple of pages in. And what he said, I find, is so true for a lot of us. It's that he reached that point where he was 50 pounds heavier than he was a decade before. And a decade before that, he was 30 pounds heavier than he was the decade before that. And the decade before that, he was 20 pounds heavier, And the numbers may not be exact, but the 3 decades worth of, gathering, and it doesn't seem like much at the time. And then suddenly you're obese and, well, gosh, how did I get here? And so anyway, I look forward to reading him later. But, it is that way, isn't it? At first it's, but then again, I was always, I guess I called myself chunky back then, chunky. And at 9 years old, I've told this story before, at 9 years old, there was a fat girl store here on the Cape on Main Street in Hyannis. And I'd come down and visit my grandmother. She was already living here. And we would go to the store, and they had this brand of Chubette clothes. And so, because being a young, I developed very early. And so my body wasn't just chubby like you might see today with young women. And they certainly have clothes that'll fit young girls that are overweight. But back then, you couldn't buy like a woman's size 14 and have it altered because it was a fuddy-duddy style. And so I always insisted on buying the good, cute, in-style things back then, and they didn't button in the back, so I'd always have to get a little sweater. So along comes Chubette brand, and it was like 10 and a half, 12 and a half, 14 and a half. So I was 14 and a half at a very, very, very young age, an age where you should have been still in little girl clothes. So my grandmother would take me there, and we'd get a couple of user-friendly type of dresses and back-to-school sort of things. But that's what the name of it was, Chubette. And so early on, I was a Chubette. So I remember in the 4th grade, I weighed 100 pounds, and what ended up the star football player weighed less than me at that time. And so I was off and running, and at my highest, I probably weighed 175, 180. So I was rock hard, rock solid. And I've even seen that in grown-up women. They still have rock hard arms and legs and thighs and butt, and just larger, and they're so lucky. But my fat didn't do that. My fat got very old looking and wrinkly and saggy, and then losing weight didn't help. And then 2 pregnancies, I went to 180 with each pregnancy. Started at 147, ended at 180. And so from my 30s, 40s, my 30s and 40s were like 140s, 150s. And then as some of you know in that video, where I just resigned myself to just being an overweight older woman who knows where I was going, because the scale was definitely not my friend, and I don't even think it was in my possession. I didn't need a scale for anything. And so, a decade later to weigh 10 more pounds is almost so common today. You can just visualize the cow chomping on the grass, looking over at you and batting her eyes at you, going, yeah, so. I mean, it's just, with the standard American diet, also known as SAD, we don't really think anything of an older person slowly gaining weight from year to year, but then if you go from decade to decade, it could be 10, 15 pounds every decade. We just consider it part of the norm, and menopause plays an ugly part in that. And if we do the same things that we did pre-menopausal, menopausal and postmenopausal, we may find that those things now cost us extra pounds on the scale. So it's not a fair world to us women at all, and so we have to work extra hard. And so when a man says, "I don't know why you're so obsessed about it," I mean, what's the difference? Just eat the damn thing. Like in that, what was it, Always Hungry book, the young girl's memoir, where she goes out to eat with her fiance, and she spent so much time perseverating over what she was going to order. The fiance just said, "Just order what you want to eat." And so for somebody like me, maybe you, was that ever a choice? No, I was aiming for the lowest fat thing on the menu. And I haven't really been out to eat in the last few years, except I go out with this lawyer and paralegal that I used to work with 10, 15 years ago, and we go out 2 times a year. And since I've been doing the low carb, high fat, I've usually opted for salads when we've gone out. And I've had the treat of a gelato. Last year I had gelato twice. And otherwise it's been fat bombs for me, because it's almost a year at the end of August that there's been no grains, no wheat, and no sugar. And the end of September, no sugar, no grains. And so as we look around, as we look at the women we might work with, or hear women, or watch women, with the exception of the eternally skinny ones on TV, we're just so used to women that slowly gain weight as they age as being part of it. And there's a big part of it that is very true that way, but we don't have to make it that way. We don't have to have it that way. And I don't know if it's true or not, but the resistance to losing, your body might have more of that resistance if you've yo-yoed all your life. And most women in the audience would raise their hand as yo-yoers. And it's funny, at my job, one of the women said that her eating disorder takes a break when she's pregnant. She's had 4. Takes a break when she's pregnant, and then as soon as she has the baby, she goes into the anorexia, bulimia mode to drop weight, and then gets to a relatively I'm looking good place, but then she would get pregnant again. So this particular time, she has not done that while she's been at the place that I work, and unfortunately she's gained a lot of weight. So, but she has not catered to that disease that usually comes a-running. And so we do such awful things to our bodies to try to get to that ultimate goal of skinny, mini, and we could be harming our body along the way. That's more of a scientific thing. All I know is what it does to our head. And so that's why it's the slow motion winning the race, the tortoise winning the race. We can get there, but we have to trust the process and go slow. And it does take time, even on the low carb, high fat, keto Facebook pages that I belong to. When you go there, you'll see a lot of comments that somebody will join up, drop 5 to 10 very quickly, and then hit this plateau, and they just don't want to stay with it. They don't want to stay with it. They begin to doubt that this sort of food plan is going to work for them. And you hear the encouragement of others that have gotten past the plateau. And as I said in the other video, the manager of the grocery store said her jeans are fitting better right out of the dryer, but the scale's not moving. And so it's it's difficult. I feel all of the frustration because I have been known to be part of the frustration. And so I just encourage all of you on whatever food plan you're on, be it Weight Watchers Smart Points or even sticking with the PPV or low carb or keto or whatever plan you're on, to stick with the process. If you look back at food plans, if you're able to go back in your tracker and see what you ate the week that you lost weight, go back and recreate that. See if that's the winning food combo for your body and your metabolism. I mean, it's just a suggestion. Is it work? You bet. But if you are logging how much you weigh, you can go back for that week because you can see it. I myself just keep doing what I'm doing, not adding the grains, not having the added sugar unless it's those white morsels in my fat bomb twice a week. And that's that. I don't, I'm not looking at my food plan and saying I really need to cut back because there's nothing on it that's in the shouldn't have place. I have minimal amounts of dairy, but I have it, and I have lots of leafy vegetables, both roasted and steamed and in salads, and minimal amounts of fruit. So I am just treating my 65-year-old body as it is. And so for me, a step on the scale that says I weigh the same, to me, is a win. And I hope that some of you can see that it could be a win for you too. We have no idea where our body's going to say, okay, that's your set point, sister. We don't have any idea. But after being on a food plan for a while and following it and doing it, weighing and measuring and not eyeballing and not kind of sort of quasi-tracking, if you're really, really doing it, then this may be your set point. And I guess at that point, other people would say you need to tone up what you got, tone up the body. In my case, I've got the saggy, hanging, flabby skin that comes from finally losing the weight that I never was able to lose to get to the weight that I am today. And the result is I have leftover skin, and because I'm older, it's not going back. It's just not moving. And so I think those that are in the field of exercising have a term for that, but it's just areas that just won't budge. And so I just need to accept that and get over that. And so I work on that. And so after I work on that, I kind of suggest that you guys learn to work on it too. And if you're at your absolute rock bottom, that the scale won't budge, that could be your set point. And I guess setting about firming up what you have. And, I'm not a gym rat. I used to be. I'm not now. I just walk 4 miles most every day. And that's what I do. And I do it because I can do my homework of listening to people, books on tapes, things like that. It's my 1 hour of uninterrupted time for sure. And accepting what is instead of, that goal of being that 22-year-old. And for the most part, it works. I'm not going to beat myself up at this stage. Life has already beaten me. I want to enjoy each day. And so each day means a walk, a tracker that's filled with good, nutritionally dense foods. I wear something snappy, so I'm belying my age as best I can, past the wrinkles, and going out and enjoying the day. What else can I do? I recommend it for you too. Thanks, my pickles. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.